Hello, welcome to Microsoft Community Insight Podcast, where we share insights and stories from community experts to stay up to date in Azure. My name is Nicholas, and I will be your host today. In this podcast, we'll dive into LangChain with Azure AI Search. But before we get started, I remind you to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and will help us reach more amazing people like yourself. So today, in this podcast episode, we will have the amazing Rishab Kumar. Can you start by introduce yourself, please?
Hi there. Thank you, Nicholas, for having me. I'm Rishab. I work at Twilio as a staff developer evangelist, and I'm also a Microsoft MVP. And yeah, I love building cloud, DevOps, and recently AI stuff. So you can find me online. Most of you have probably seen me around the Twitter or the LinkedIn space and even YouTube, but you can find me at Rishabh in Cloud. And yeah, it's a pleasure
Okay,
to be here.
great. Yeah, so today our theme of this episode is LangChain. So we're gonna just talk about what it is. So first question is, what is LangChain and how it can be used with AI search, Richard?
Sure. So LangChain is an open source framework that lets you build LLM powered applications. Don't just think, simple apps where you're integrating OpenAI's API and now you can chat with a large language model, just like ChatGPT, but within your apps. But the extensibility of what you can build is just, there's no limit because of the tools,
Yeah,
the agents, the APIs that are available through LangChain. And we can also, go over the offerings that they have within their tools. If we do want to do that, but yeah, you basically have the ability to build chatbots and agents and other things that are powered by AI using different large language models and things like Azure AI Search, which I recently have been exploring. And I think your question was, how it works with Azure AI Search. There's an amazing documentation available, both from Azure on Azure AI Search, its features and how you can do different things, but also LangChain has an Azure AI Search doc that's available, which I used to integrate it into my project.
that's brilliant. So let's dive into some of the functionality of LangChain. So what are some of the use case of where LangChain and AI search have been successful applied?
Sure. So in my personal experience, what I have used Azure AI Search for is mostly RAG, which stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation, kind
Yeah,
of pipelines, right? And that's where I think it's the best offering because of the generous free tier that you get with Azure AI Search. And what I have built with that is, I've built a YouTube assistant bot where it gets the transcript of the video. So you basically paste a YouTube video URL and you ask questions to that YouTube video, and then it does a RAG. So you get the relevant context from the
okay.
video based on your question, and then it's able to answer your question based on just that video. So think of, you know, podcasts that are 3 hours or 4 hours long, but you don't have the
Yeah,
time to just go through the entire video. You can ask, hey, what did person X say on this podcast about, AI, let's say. And then you'll get all the bullet points from this chatbot, which is amazing, because it saves me time. It summarizes videos and podcasts that I am interested in, but I don't have the time to watch them. And that is like one example. But Azure AI Search, what I found is you also have, capabilities of within RAG, you have
yeah,
relevant or relevancy score. So just to give you a context, what RAG is basically, so large language models, and you might have seen this with, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you use, is
yeah,
when you ask them questions that is too recent, you'll get a response like, "Hey, I don't know because this hasn't happened yet," because they were trained until 2023 or 2022 or 2021. Yeah, with GPT-3, it was data until 2021. So it doesn't know about current affairs or, things that are happening right now. And but what you can do is you can provide that context to the large language model. So you can say, hey, just like with my YouTube assistant example, you can say, hey, here's the whole script of the YouTube video, which you might not know of because it just was released 3 days ago. But I want you to answer this specific question. So you can imagine that a YouTube script for a 3 hour long video is going to be huge, right?
Yeah.
So we can't pass all of that to OpenAI or to Azure OpenAI services because they
Yeah.
have token limits, right? You have a certain amount of context that you can provide, and you need to be within those token limits. And that's where chunking and all those concepts come in. Is you break down that 3 hour long transcript into smaller chunks of documents, and you store that in a vector database, which Azure AI Search functions as. So the SDK for Azure AI Search, whether you're using directly or you're using it through tools like LangChain or semantic kernel, is you have that ability to break down a huge document into smaller chunks, store it within Azure AI Search, and you have the ability to do search on these documents. So let's say we are talking about this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Once this podcast is released, it'll have a transcript, which is, I don't know, let's say 50 pages long.
Yeah.
And we'll break it down to single page, which will be 50 individual pages that will sit inside, and it can be any storage. It can be Azure Blob Storage, but Azure AI Search has capabilities to handle that for you. And then you can basically, when I ask, hey, where does Rishabh work, right?
Yeah.
So what would happen behind the scenes is it'll go and look at the documents wherever Rishabh's workspace was mentioned, which was basically in the introduction of this podcast, and it'll grab that specific page and use that as context and pass it along your question to the large language model. And now the large language model knows that Rishabh works at Twilio based on this page, and it'll get back that
Mm.
response to the user. So
So speaking
that's
of
basically
context,
how
is
it
that the
works.
same? Speaking of context, is that the same as system prompt then in Azure OpenAI?
Sorry, did you say system prompt?
Yeah, is that the same? The how LangChain use context?
That is a good question. I think when you're building a chatbot, you can have it within the system prompt. And
Yeah.
if you're building something, like a question answer machine or where you don't need the chat capabilities, but it's more of a
Yeah.
question and answer situation. Yeah, you have that within the prompt template. So within the prompt template, you'll say, hey, here are the docs that are relevant to this question. But yeah,
Okay, that's brilliant.
you had the right
But
idea. Yeah.
in your experience, how does LangChain and AI search impact like different like semantic search functionality? Because is it the same?
That's a good
Because Azure
question.
semantic search and then LangChain, like I'm not sure they have a functionality called semantic search or higher.
Let me see. I'm gonna dive into my project, but I do feel like there are some functionalities, like
Yeah,
similarity search, hybrid search,
yeah.
that you're able to, utilize within your application. I don't know about
Okay.
semantic search.
No, no worries. So let's just ask you a different question. So in your experience, what challenges do we face when using AI search uh, uh, with LangChain? What are some of the challenges you came across?
That's a good question. I would say my experience so far has been really good, even though it has been only for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's only been like a month that I started using Azure AI Search. I've been using LangChain for quite a few months now. Documentation wise, I think with examples, I think like LangChain and Azure AI Search can. E- e- I might even contribute with some examples. I think we can have more robust examples of different concepts and cover them,
Yeah.
whether that's on the LangChain docs or whether that's on the Azure AI Search docs. But I was able to get it configured pretty quickly, which is nice. And I was
Yeah.
able to call different methods, which is nice. Which means, both of those teams have done great jobs when it comes to covering the documentation side. But I think with examples, it would make it, even better. Like, hey, if you want to do this, here's an example app that we built. And I'm pretty sure that it's already in pipeline and they're coming up with that.
Okay. So
No challenges.
LangChain, so LangChain let you like integrate the different services like Slackbot, like
Oh
Slack,
yeah,
Jira, and things, and GitHub as well. You just connect it without writing more complex Python code on top of it.
exactly. So you can have your RAG running through Azure AI Search, but you can,
Yeah.
on top of that, if you want, Bing search capabilities or Wikipedia to do some more thorough research on your answers,
Yeah.
or even something like Twilio if you want to send, a text message or voice call. You have those tools built in within LangChain.
Okay. So how does, in your experience when you're working with LangChain, how does it works with different contexts like text and images and audio in
Oh,
compare
that's a
with
good
like
question.
normal Azure search? Is it the same method? Same?
I haven't worked with media yet,
Yeah.
so my exposure has been just text.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
worked with like different types of text, so
Yeah.
PDFs, or but the I think the extraction is still the same. It's just that it's text in form of PDFs. It's text on a website, so you extract that and load it into your pipeline. But yeah, I haven't worked with like video or images.
Yeah.
That's
With it.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting question I thought of. So it's just pretty much like PDF, you just put it like in GitHub and stuff and just exported it.
Yeah. So you can put it in GitHub or wherever it's accessible. So if
Yeah.
it's in your blobs or like Azure storage account, you'll need those connection strings, right, to bring in those PDFs, or and then chunk it down to smaller pages and then
Yeah.
upload it. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks. So it's in your experience, what are some of the uh project that you use LangChain for and that's been successful? Or is it just POC at the moment?
Yeah. So the there's this talk that I gave about introduction to LangChain as the framework,
Yeah.
and people. So I have like two basic example within that talk to cover just the concepts and how LangChain
Okay.
works. One of them is very basic. It's just like a pets name generator, where you select what kind of pet you have and provide a color of your pet,
Yeah.
and it gives you like cool
Okay.
names, which is very basic. But then the second one is YouTube Assistant, which is like if you go to Free Code Camp YouTube channel and search for LangChain course, I've included that project within that course, and you can kind of see the capabilities you have of building something like that. That might help you. The other thing that I built, and it uses Twilio, is a summarizer bot. So let's say you have an article, right? And I'm notoriously, guilty of bookmarking tweets and articles that I want to read later. But
Okay.
you know that, like, most of the times you don't go back and read them. I try my best to go back and clear up my bookmarks and stuff and go through them. So what I built is you basically paste a link to that article and it sends you a summary of that article as text message. So because now I have a notification on my phone saying that, hey, you wanted to read this article, but if you didn't, here's the summary. So it has like bullet points, which is again built with LangChain, Azure AI Search, and Twilio
Yeah.
SMS.
Okay, so I take it is that build is that stored on your GitHub then, Richard? So for others to
It is
view and stuff?
private for now, but
Okay.
yeah, the goal is to have that available publicly.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can check out my GitHub. I have other LangChain examples. Just type Rishab Kumar 7 GitHub, and you'll get my GitHub, and then you can type in LangChain in my repositories, and you'll see all of the LangChain repositories. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So, as this episode is coming to an end, how can someone get started with LangChain and integrate it with Azure Search?
Good question. So if you're a Python dev, which I use, so LangChain, an important point is only available in Python and
Yeah.
JavaScript slash TypeScript, right? So if you're a Python dev, you can go to LangChain, or you can search it, search in your browser LangChain Python, and it'll take you to the homepage of the Python version of the framework. And there are quick start guides, there are docs. That's the best way to get started. You have an extensive list of tools that LangChain can work directly with. And similarly, if you're a JavaScript or TypeScript person, you can do the same. So LangChain JavaScript, and it'll take you to the JavaScript version. If you're looking for a video-based resource, as I said, I have I think hour 50-minute long course. If you just type in free code camp introduction to LangChain in your browser, there will be a YouTube course that is available for you to take. It includes examples and stuff. And I think that's a good way to start with LangChain. And then
Okay.
I have a video that's upcoming oh, we are in April already. So it's upcoming this month sometime, which talks about basically what we were discussing is the use of LangChain with Azure AI Search.
Okay. So I've just got a question just for myself. So how would you use when do you know when to use LangChain for other than like the native Azure OpenAI, like use like in
Ah,
like do it with Python and stuff? How do you know when to use LangChain itself?
I so I want to say that if you want, so like let's say you're at a hackathon, or
Yeah.
if you want a really quick way to demonstrate an idea that you had in your mind and you want to build
Yeah.
a AI LLM app, I think LangChain is great in those scenarios. But my experience is that, and this is also like working at Twilio and with other
Yeah.
companies on different AI powered apps, has been that developers use the SDKs and the libraries directly within, like as you said, the Azure OpenAI or Azure Search, instead of using a framework. And I can see that why that is the reason. So even with LangChain, having been working with this framework for the past 6-7 months, things are things are changing so rapidly that
Yeah.
the methods that you used previously don't work anymore or are deprecated, and now they have a new way of doing things. So like you can't have that within like a production use case. And I feel like things like SDKs that are official from Microsoft or Azure, they are more robust and have better long-term support. And I think that's why there's like a mindset of, hey, if you want to build something long term and like is gonna be used, if you're gonna build something for work, yes, I would say build
Yeah.
something with like the SDKs itself directly.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, that's been my
Okay.
experience. Maybe it'll change, but yeah, for now,
Okay, so
that was a
LangChain is
great
pretty much
question.
for learning, and while SDK with like Python and stuff is for like production stuff you want to do it in real world. So that's different. Okay, cool. So as this episode is coming to an end, we would love to find out about yourself. So are you going to any events in the future? Tech events?
Oh, good question. I know that build is coming around. I won't be able to make it, but
Yeah.
I'm excited for just the virtual experience. So Microsoft Build is coming around. I know we met at the MVP Summit, which was awesome, and just excited about all the great things that are coming within the you know the container landscape, serverless, and AI. So excited to see what all announcements we'll see at Build and the what other events. So we do have meetups here at Microsoft Reactor in Toronto. I usually
Okay.
go speak at some of them. So there's the global AI
Google
bootcamp that
Azure? Oh
happened,
yeah.
right? And I gave this LangChain talk, and now there's global Azure bootcamp that's happening this month. So I'm excited to attend that.
Okay, that's brilliant. So one last thing. So how can others get in touch with yourself, Rishabh?
Sure. So you can
Do you
find
want to know
me,
more?
yeah. So you can find me at rishabkumar.com. That's the easiest way and has like all my links and stuff. It's rishabkumar.com. It has my Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and all other social media platforms that might you might use, and also my GitHub and stuff. So yeah, that's the best way to find me.
Yeah, thanks. And and also you learn to cloud. So
Yes.
you the program. So yeah, so you can find that. Do you want to talk about more for that for viewers?
Sure.
What
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
cloud?
So I think, yeah, this is the right way. Learn to Cloud is an open source guide that helps you learn cloud, as the name suggests. So if you are someone who is either struggling, to break into cloud or are just starting out, go check it out. It's all free. All the resources we have there are free. It roughly takes people 6 to 12 months to go through the entire curriculum. So it's built with first-hand experience by Gwen, who's a great friend, works at Microsoft as cloud advocate, and me, because we both are kind of like self-taught people who started in help desk and moved into cloud computing and DevOps. So yeah, check it out. I think it's a great resource. We have around 4,000 something GitHub stars, and last year we had around 160,000 users using the guy like using the web platform. So go check it out. It's at learntocloud.guide is the URL.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot for joining this episode, Richard. And in a few weeks, it's going to be on social media like Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks a lot. Bye.